Hey, this is Dom Empey of the Dead Poets. You are now listening to According to Mike and Tony.
What's going down, everybody? Episode number 7. Jeez, can you believe we're at episode number 7 already, Mike?
It felt like one was just around the corner.
Yeah, no doubt. We had a great week last week. It was kind of crazy in this place. We had Antoine Simmons from Puff Puff Beer. Check him out.
Don MP from the MPs and the Dead Poets.
And Mark the Couch Guy.
Who we got here again.
Yeah, this time he's not on the couch, though. He's sitting at the table with us.
We upgraded him to the grown-up table.
Yeah.
I feel special, but I'm still the couch guy, I'm laid back just like the couch I would be in, and I'm chill.
Yeah, you carry the vibe right into a regular chair, man.
Right.
This is our last show of the year. We have a very special guest, somebody who is very close to my heart, a dear and true friend who I've known for many years, an amazing musician, an amazing songwriter, performer. We've worked together many years. Mr. David Freshman, welcome to According to Mike and Tony.
Hi, guys. How are you? Thanks for inviting me.
Buddy, thank you so much for coming on and joining us.
Sure.
How you feeling today?
I feel with my hands, baby. Okay. All right. That's good. There's the outfit.
That's a perfect answer.
Okay. No, I'm feeling good. Thanks.
Yeah, so it's the this is our last show of the holiday season. We're going to take a week off next week. And
coming strong on the new year, we're going to have another guest, Michael Patty.
Oh, yeah, that's the 3rd, right?
Yeah,
January 3rd?
January 3rd, we'll have Michael Patty in. Great guy. I've known him. I worked with him in the past. And he has big ties to music, too. So get interesting to get set up with him and keep on the trend with this music that we're going with right now.
Yeah, I'm loving it. We started off with, we interview anybody. We have all kinds of different guests on here, but obviously I'm a musician, a singer-songwriter myself, so we're very centered. I guess I didn't even do the introduction. Singer-songwriter Tony Dollar, sitting across from me, as always, Mike Pierce. Yeah, that was useless.
Yeah, but no, it's not just musicians. Like 2015, we have a wide variety of different people. I mean, we have comedians in MMA,
Brogan, right? It's coming on.
MMA, stuff like that. Just different.
That's right. We got an MMA coach coming up. That's in January, February.
Yeah.
January,
yeah.
Yeah, good stuff.
Brewmaster.
Oh yeah, won awards for his beer, right?
Yeah. So we have
an
exciting year coming up too. I mean, even though 2014's ending, and we're grateful to everybody that's listened so far. This has actually been above and beyond what we actually thought at the very beginning. We didn't think there was going to be so many listeners, and it's we're just so humbled upon this that everybody is kind of taken to this and
jumping on board of
this
this crazy ass show. What the hell? I thought we were doing a podcast for our parents. Let's get into it today. We are talking to David Freshman, who is an amazing guy. God, when did we meet? 2005?
No, it was actually
before
April 2004.
Yeah, at
McDonough's Irish Pub.
Yeah, on Havana and Iliff, right?
Yes, an infamous place.
Yeah, I drive by there once in a while. It's still over there. I wonder about it. We had quite a scene back in the day going on there. We used to
back when we were there. They had these Thursday night lady nights, and ladies' night was just outrageous. Anything went.
Yeah.
But the best thing about it is the place was packed with gorgeous women, lots of cats, and they had these jam sessions that had some of the most amazing players of all genres and varieties. And they were emceed by this very cool guy named Johnny B.
He was good. He used to run the soundboard and hair down to his ass.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he looked like he worked for the Allman Brothers. Hey, man, my name is Sky Dog.
I thought he actually was the Allman Brothers.
So that's where I met you.
Yeah, no, it was good times. We pretty much did an open mic there every Thursday, it seemed like. At the time, we had a band called Pilot Theory.
Yeah.
And some of my best memories in life were at that little joint, man. It was such a good deal. And it was, like you said, it was ladies' night, so all the ladies always drank free.
Yeah, and that was a very special time for me as well, because just during that time, that's when I was starting to date my wife, Mish.
Really?
So,
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, we've been together now for 11 and a half years almost. Come July, I'll be 12 years.
Man, congratulations.
Thank you. And So I'd take her to this crazy place, among others, right? And she's like dating this crazed musician guy.
Yeah.
And we're coming to this place, and some of the scenes that she encountered were one night there's this gal, we called her the tambourine lady. She would just bang the tambourine no matter what, recklessly.
I don't remember. Was this somebody in the audience or?
And,
Wait, she would bring her own tambourine?
bring her own tambourine, and but that just wasn't the only thing about her, man. I mean, she just had her sights set on guys, and I remember one night I was, of course, on a date with my girlfriend at the time, and the tambourine lady just was prepared to handle the situation the way she
maybe
wanted.
she was pissed she never got her own song.
Yeah.
Tambourine woman.
Yeah. So that was part of the wonderful scene. There's a lot of amazing people there. Rudy Love, this black guy who used to play with Sly and the Family Stone. And
Yeah.
just incredible players.
You know who?
James.
You know who used to play there all the time was Ryan Waller. He was actually going to come on the show. Was it last week or week before?
Last week.
He had a big
Right.
gig come up north or something like that. So,
Yeah.
but we'll have him on for sure in the future.
He's a great cat.
There were so many good musicians back then, and I'm trying to think of the guy. I wish I had a better way to describe him. He was like a normal-looking white dude with brown hair, but he was such a good
like
songwriter. And I know you did some
His
stuff.
name was James.
That's it. What was his last name? Do you remember?
I can't remember. He had this one song. I actually have his CD. He wrote this song called Lone Star Saloon.
Yes,
Star
I
Saloon.
totally remember that. Yeah,
I actually have that. He gave that to me. His name was James Austin.
that's right.
James
I'm gonna
Austin.
Google him, see what that dude's up to these
Yeah,
days.
and this guy was just, as Anthony mentioned, just amazing. I mean,
That's another thing. Fresh calls me Anthony. He met me at a different time in my life.
yeah. But those were
No,
wild
yeah,
days.
Tony has a street name, Tony. That's your street name.
No, I actually, you know what?
Yeah, street name
I actually
Tony.
went by Tony my entire life, and for about a 3-year period, I decided I was going back to my roots, and I was going to go completely Anthony, and that's when I met Fresh,
Yeah.
and then I switched it on him, and it just stuck. So
Yeah.
Now it sounds like you're always in trouble when he says something to you.
You know how the mom is like, Anthony,
That's
come
right,
here, you're
yeah.
in trouble shit.
Yeah, exactly. Anthony Norman.
Gerald, Anthony Gerald Dollar the Second.
Oh, shit.
That you kind of brought that to the forefront of my mind, though, is that one thing that's really cool that you've always done is you're not just a musician, you're not just a performer, you're not just a writer, you're a producer and an engineer as well. You've done a lot of demos for me, you've recorded a lot of my stuff, and one of the most amazing things is that I'm a scatterbrained fool, and over the years I've recorded a lot of stuff, but a lot of stuff I've lost. I don't have anything. I go to you. You've got my entire catalog. You and my dad together have everything I've ever done, and I love that. I love that you save everything. I love that you have a song from James Austin from 2005, and you've still got it.
You know, I have music of my own. I've written to date close to 197 songs.
Jesus.
And I started writing in 1971. 72. I started playing guitar.
That's what I was going to get into next.
Earlier.
Let's talk
Earlier
about
than
your
that.
early days, because you're not originally from Colorado. You're from the good old Southern California, yes?
Yeah, Southern California. No, I was born and raised in Southern California and lived out there for 38 years of my life. Came out here in March of 1994. Right after the Northridge, California earthquake.
You're like, I'm getting the fuck out of here.
Yeah, January 17th, 1994, 4:30 in the morning. That was it. But yeah, I grew up in L.A. and I have been playing the guitar since February of 1968.
Holy
Back in the
shit.
days, I used to play at the Whiskey, the Roxy.
You played at the Whiskey.
Mhm.
Yeah, I believe
the
it.
Troubadour. I played in Malibu at Trancas.
What was your first band? You've talked about them a few times.
My first band was called Destiny, and
Right.
back in, I want to say it was 72 or 73, I can't remember. we had the good fortune of opening up at the Whiskey for a band called Foghat.
Oh my
for a
goodness.
band called
Beautiful name.
Foghat.
Yeah.
You might know him.
Well, yeah. So, I've been around the block a bit, and one of the things that I wanted to say that Anthony was saying here is it's a firm belief, and we'll probably talk more about this, but musicians and creative people cannot recall what they do when they're performing because they're so focused and redirected in the creative process.
Absolutely.
So, that being said, many, many, many years ago, I took it upon myself to record my performances. And to date, I have hundreds and hundreds of CDs and cassettes and stuff.
How do you keep track of all that? Do you have physical CDs of all this stuff, and you just kind of have it all like filed away?
I have it all filed away. I have the dates. Many times I will, I'm such an obsessed fuck, I will try to actually take the ad from Westward and cut it out and put it in there, along with pictures that my wife takes. So I'll put these pictures in, like Anthony and I did a show December 27, 2012 at Herman's Hideaway with Pilot Theory. Well, Mish took great pictures, and that was with Kelly that night.
Yeah, that was a great night.
Here's the story behind that. I purchased the soundboard for the show, but the cat who was doing the sound that night.
And for those of you who don't know music stuff, what he did was the sound guy records stuff, and you can get your CD from him.
Yeah, he charges you like $10, but the guy spaced out, and he only gave me 40 minutes of a 55-minute set. So luckily, I had my recorder recording.
I remember that when you had like 3 or 4 songs on there
There
that
were 3 or 4
recorded.
songs that were missed, like
You're performing and running sound at the same time.
So the point is that you want to be able to capture yourself because, first of all, when you play, you don't get to hear yourself, and sometimes you're able to catch real magic. Sometimes if you're in the middle of an improvisation or something, you catch something in the air that can be utilized for a future song.
Mm-hmm.
I go by a very future, very spiritual kind of way of just grabbing what's in the air at that moment.
Which I love about you.
Oh, thank you.
That was one of the biggest things in Pilot Theory that I always loved, was that I had been in many bands where it was just always, it was very regimented and it was predictable, and you'd rehearse the same song in the same format over and over and over and over. And this guy, I swear to God, our hearts and minds come from jazz with him.
Yeah.
Born in a different time, because it was always improvisation. That's what we loved. I mean, we'd go up there with a song that I'd written that was 4 minutes, and we'd perform it, and we'd finish the song, and it's 8.5 minutes long.
That's right. That's right. All the bands that I've ever played with in all my years, the motto is to play from the heart and to have it driven by the spirit. So, like, I've played in many, 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 many bands. One of them is a group called Tough Grooves, and we will take cover songs and embellish them so that even with Tough Grooves, Pilot Theory, any of the bands, you can never see a show and have it be the exact same as a prior show or a future show. It is always fresh and dynamic and coming right there.
If you're doing it right.
If you're doing it right. So, that's part of my motto is grab the magic and go for it.
There's nothing wrong with that at all.
Yeah.
Is this, I think I might have found James Austin's site here. Let's see here. I'm trying to see if I recognize any of the tunes. Do you know where he's living now? Is he here in Colorado still?
No, I don't think so. No, last time I talked to him, which was so many years ago, I think he had migrated back to
Tennessee.
Oh,
this is him. He's
California.
ranked #1 in White Pine, Tennessee right now.
Yeah, I
on,
wouldn't be
Reverb
surprised.
Nation.
Yeah,
Wow.
he's absolutely fantastic. Does he have that song Lone Star Saloon on there?
No, doesn't look like it. He did not, at least not posted on this site here.
On
Good
the
for
reverb,
him,
on the
though.
reverb, they usually put like their newest shit on.
Yeah,
Shit.
totally.
Oh, I'd love to see
Totally.
that site.
Yeah, I'll share
I'll
it
have
with
to-
you.
Yeah, that'd be great.
For sure. It's pretty cool to see that he's still doing music and doing well. And me and you have talked about this many times. There's so many times where you're playing and life happens, man. I mean, in my case, I had kids and I got myself real deep into a career and everything. And a lot of people just put it down and walk away, you know? And I think that's what is something that I love about you, that you've never stopped, man. You just keep marching forward, and it's something that's definitely inspired me in my dark moments where I've thought, man, maybe it's time to hang it up, you know? And I look at you and I go, why? Why would you hang it up? But you can't. It's part of who you are, you know?
No.
And it's what we do, man. We bring beautiful music into the world, and that's how we...
You know, you guys don't know this about me. Anthony does, but there's been a number of things in life that I've had to accept and go through. One of them is almost 8 years ago, I received a heart transplant. So I'm 58 and I have the heart of another man who he would have been 36 years old. So my heart is 36 years old.
Cody, right?
Cody, which I wrote a song for.
And you do a thing every year, too, right? You go up into... it's up in the mountains. Where is it at again?
Steamboat Springs.
Steamboat
Oh,
Springs.
it's beautiful up there.
Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
well, I could tell more about that. But the point is that everyone in life gets these periods of down, despair, depression. This is part of
Being human.
life, being human. And actually, they are opportunities. They're opportunities to build your character and grow. If everything was to just go smooth all the time, you wouldn't develop that resilience to deal with life as it is.
Mm-hmm.
And Anthony knows me very well. We're like brothers, and that's exactly what it's like, people. You just keep moving ahead. The biggest thing to be aware of is when you get into a place where it's really rough, ask for help.
I was just telling my kids that, and that's a big lesson I teach my kids. Is it was on a smaller scale, obviously. It was just about when things go wrong, and I think my son was getting real pissed off about something one of his sisters was doing. You know, they're hitting him or taking something of his, and that's kind of the, I don't know, it's kind of a lesson for all of us, don't you think? Yeah. So you started in 1971. Man, can you imagine playing music in Southern
Actually,
California?
I started in 1968.
Oh, 68 is when you started playing guitar, correct?
Yeah.
And then how soon after you started playing did you start performing and stuff?
Well, this is sort of the timeline. I started in 1964. I was playing violin. I played violin for...
I actually didn't know that.
Yeah, I played violin from 1964 to February of 68. I was in grade school. And in 1968, February, the world was exploding with music. Here I lived in Southern California, about 2.5 miles from West Hollywood, the Whiskey A Go-Go and all these places. And back in those days of the early to mid-60s, I was very aware of the British invasion and rock and roll. So I ditched the violin to start learning how to play guitar to pick up chicks.
Keep it real.
Yeah, that's what I did. And it worked pretty successfully.
Let me drop this violin. Let me get
Yeah,
some chicks.
the
Yeah, the
violin
violin's
went the
not
other
really
way.
working out for the chicks.
No,
Right.
it's not. I was getting all these librarian to-bes. It's like,
Okay,
My
let's
name
say
is-
Sometimes
the
the-
right chicks. Let's just say the right chicks.
Exactly.
Well, you never know. Librarian chicks can be pretty wild.
yes,
and
they can.
crazy.
yes,
I think
my
you
name
wanted the
is
quickies once.
Betsy, and this
Yeah.
is my friend Norma, and we're going to...
Norma. That's a name I've
Norma
heard
in
forever.
bed.
That's a 1970 name right there. That-
Norma.
Hello, Norma. Would you like to
Norma
hear my
Williams
violin?
and Betsy Road.
Oh, those are real names.
No,
huh?
they're not.
Oh, okay.
I told you I'm a nut.
Those are
You don't have-
AKAs.
Yeah, AKAs.
He's like, my wife might be here, and so no, they're not real names. I'm sorry.
To
People are
protect
going,
the,
who is that
to
guy?
protect
Where they
the
get that guy?
innocent.
Is he on his meds? Is he
All-
okay?
we wouldn't let him come
names.
on unless he was on his.
all names and identity have been changed to protect the names of the innocent.
Not all the birds got out of this guy's cage.
Oh, jeez.
So, man, starting at that like at that time frame, in that time period, what were like your major influences on music? Like, what were you looking up to?
Oh, that's a great question. Great question, Mike. Well, what really set the whole ball in motion was in 1965, I got to purchase an album called My Generation by a band called The Who.
Obviously, a band you may have heard of.
Well, some people don't know who.
True.
These
Yeah, no,
Who
it's
are.
true. It's true. It's true. Yeah. Who is the Who?
So I got into these guys, and I was like, my God, this is really exciting music, and listen how these guys are playing, and the energy was just off the hook. And at the same time, the other music I was listening to quite frequently was Motown. So I was listening to a lot of Temptations and the Four Tops, Four Seasons, Smokey Robinson and the Miracles, Stevie Wonder, Ike and Tina Turner, Martha and the Vandellas. And believe it or not, The Who, when they first started their career, they were doing the same kind of stuff, R&B stuff, but supercharging it. Okay, that's the truth. They were doing, if you look at their early sets, they were doing songs like Heat Wave and Dancing in the Street and stuff, right?
Yeah, right.
Okay, so I'm thinking, this guy Townsend, people kept saying, God, you look like this guy Fresh. I'm like, I don't know
I've seen
about
pictures
that.
of you when you were young. You had the long hair
Yeah.
and I saw the bell bottoms. I saw
Right,
I saw what you
exactly.
did.
Rocking the bell bottom.
Yeah, exactly. Bell bottom blues. So, I thought, okay, this is a happening scene.
Yeah.
And the other kind of stuff I was listening to besides Motown and The Who were guys like the Yardbirds and the Rolling Stones. of
Yardbirds
course.
was the pre-Zeppelin, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep. They had 3 guitar players that were amazing. A guy named Eric Clapton started, and then Jeff Beck took over. And Eric Clapton went on to form Cream.
Yeah.
And then Jeff left to form his band, the Jeff Beck Group, with...
Real quick, Mike, you had a fun fact, right? I saw a fun fact about
Yeah.
Eric
So
Clapton.
there was a fun fact that I had.
Real quick, Fresh fun facts are these things we send out once a week.
Oh,
we'll get you
cool.
on the email list too. We'll send them out to you.
Oh,
Mike
good,
goes through. I don't
good.
know where he finds this shit, but he finds the most random fun facts and he sends them out to everybody. Share the one about.
And so the one about how you just spoke about Eric Clapton and playing with Cream. The fun fact this week was Jimi Hendrix was once invited to play with Cream alongside Eric Clapton. In the middle of the show, Clapton actually walked off the stage, and he was found backstage shaking angrily and smoking a cigarette. When asked what was wrong, he simply replied, "You never told me he was that fucking good."
Yeah. That is the case.
Coming from Clapton, what a compliment. Jeez.
Yeah.
Sorry to throw you off there.
No,
It just
no,
popped
no.
out
That
into my
was
head.
awesome. I love it. Wow. So, those were some of the influences. Creedence Clearwater Revival,
Oh,
CCR, right?
Yeah, buddy.
Really, it was music that had heart. Just to share a little something about when I was growing up, radio was not playlist categorized in those days.
That's something I definitely wanted to get into today a little bit, because we talk a lot about how the music industry's changed and how radio is sort of phasing out in a way. It may never go completely away, but things are changing with the internet. And I try to imagine, what was it like trying to get into the music industry in the 1960s and 70s? It was a completely different world.
Well, it was a very different world. Radio at that time was... I used to listen to radio stations that would play everything. In a given 20 minutes to a half hour, you could hear Stevie Wonder's Uptight. You could hear Frank Sinatra's My Way. You could hear Sergio Mendes in Brazil 66. That's like a Brazilian jazz. You could hear the Rolling Stones. You could hear the Beatles. You could hear some Motown. You could then hear Dion and the Belmonts. There was no...
20 to 30 minutes is about the loop now for every song on the radio.
Wow.
You listen for 30 minutes, you'll hear the same songs again.
No,
Yeah.
no, they would switch
Seriously.
them up. And the other thing that was very cool is back then the DJs would announce after each song who it was, the LP it was, so that back in those days you would go to the record store and they had listening booths. So they would let you listen to the music, and if you liked it, you could buy it. So there was this promulgation, this spreading of this good music, no categorization at all. So I remember the first time at about the age of 11 and a half, 12, I went into one of the little record stores and I bought, same time, and albums at that time were maybe $4 or $5, which was a fairly good amount of money. I bought the Monkees.
Yeah.
I bought the Monkees.
It's awesome.
I bought Are You Experienced by Jimi Hendrix.
Yes.
I bought Easy Rider by the Byrds.
Yep.
Okay. I bought Ike and Tina Turner.
Oh, wow. Cool.
And I bought, what was the other one? It was Stevie Wonder, but I forget the name of it.
Oh, wow.
And it had songs like Fingertips and all these classic songs.
Yeah.
Right? So, I mean, it was very, very cool to be living in that period. And the other thing, this is sort of awkward to share.
12-year-old genius, I think. Is that what you were thinking of?
No, I was going to say, I grew up in a very white, Jewish, upper-class society, Beverly Hills, California. And I had a very open mind, but some of my friends did not. So they would put me down for listening to music that was black music.
Like the Motowns and the Stevie Wonder. And
They were
all
like,
that stuff.
what is wrong with you, man? Are you some kind of,
Sympathizer.
Yeah, I won't get into it. But, I got a lot of grief. But to me, it was all music. So if you listen to the music I
has no
play
race.
today,
Right.
the kind of music I play today is an amalgamation of everything. You've heard my stuff.
Oh, definitely. Even the chords you were playing tonight, man. All these
Goes all over the map.
minor sevenths. and-
Right.
Well,
I was
about
taught
say,
to play
too,
like
when
that.
he was playing for that stuff earlier into it, like I caught a little bit when he was doing the picking, a little bit of that blues kind of
Yeah.
style.
No, he's got a
too,
little bit
man.
of everything.
Yeah.
Little of everything.
Fresh blessed us with a little bit of playing right before we started the podcast, which was pretty remarkable. We're going to do a little set here. Have you do a little, if you don't mind.
No, I'd love to.
After the
As I say, the point that I'm trying to make here, guys, and to everyone listening is keep your mind open and be willing to try new stuff because, it's really hard to tell today. Many times I rely on friends to give me a heads up. Hey, man, Fresh, check this out. I think you'd dig it. And it could be progressive rock. It could be folk. It could be psychedelic. It could be have some symphonic classical. I listen to classical music all the time, too. I'm a trained musician. So it doesn't matter as long as it has to have two prerequisites. It has to be in tune, and it has to be in time.
it's amazing how many musicians you will see play
In
out of
tune and in time.
Yeah, no, that's a great point, man, to be open-minded to music. And back then it was kind of a different thing because you had a lot of racism and that kind of shit going
Well,
on.
that's what I was alluding to.
With segregation and
Right.
That's
But even
exactly what I was alluding to.
now, whether we've moved completely beyond that, it's a whole nother podcast.
It's a whole different era.
Yeah, but still, it's still that same thing. You still see the same thing where people, they find what they like and they get in their groove and they stick right in it and they don't. There's so much music out there, and with the internet now, there's so many different artists that aren't being played on the radio, aren't on these, these huge ways of broadcasting themselves. They're just out there doing their thing, and it's on the internet, and there's ways you can find them. I mean, little things like SoundCloud, and back in the day it was MySpace and YouTube. All these.
When you were talking about how you used to have the sound booths and the listening booths, whatever. When I was growing up here in Aurora, they had a place called Media Play. It was right off of Mississippi and I-225. And with Media Play, you can go in, and they had scanners, and they had headphones. You can take your CD, and you can scan it, and it would do like...
quick little burst.
It'd do a quick little song, like a sample of the CD.
Yeah.
And I always thought that was so dope because you can listen to different things, and like, and my way of music is like how you were describing your way of music. It's just like all over the place. Like I had one of my friends like message me on Facebook one time because I do Spotify, and on Spotify you can see what everybody's listening to if you follow them and everything.
Yeah, I need to follow you. I didn't know you were on
And so
Spotify.
one day someone messaged me on Spotify and was like, Carly Rae Jepsen, call me maybe, seriously, dude. I was like, fuck, dude.
Busted.
It's a catchy tune. Sorry.
Yeah.
It's a catchy tune.
That's one thing I noticed. I started following. I just recently discovered you could do that on Spotify. I didn't even know that. So I've been following every time it pops up. I'm like, do you want to follow? I'm like, yes. Yeah, and they just keep coming. But I haven't seen your name pop up yet. But I did think about that. I was like, everybody can see what you're listening to. But I was thinking how amazing of a thing that is that I didn't realize with Spotify. I don't know if you have Spotify.
I don't. I have some personal feelings against it.
Okay. Well, we'll get into that in a second. But one thing I do like about it is just the fact that I could see what all my friends are listening to. In fact, that was the day, Mike, you remember when I discovered Tropical Paradise? It's a Filipino reggae band.
Tropical Depression.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. What did I say? Paradise? Tropical Paradise.
Depression.
Talk about a cliche name that would be.
Depression in Paradise.
Depression.
Yeah, no, Tropical Depression. It's a Filipino reggae band, and they were just absolutely phenomenal. But I came across them because Myra's uncle was listening to him. He lives in the Philippines, so I don't know if he has any kind of connection to the band or whatever, but it hit me. I was like, holy shit, this is the awesomest way to find new music, and it's so easy because I can just see what my friends are listening to.
Yeah.
Let's get into what's your deal with Spotify.
Well, Spotify does not reward properly the artists. A lot of those streaming sites don't properly pay what they should for the songs. I have a few friends that are pro players too. I have a very good buddy, and he and I talk about this all the time. This guy's name is John Ashton, and I've known him for many, many years. He played in a band called the Psychedelic Furs, and he's a good friend of mine. Well, John and I have the same belief that as an artist, we're not looking to get wealthy. That's not going to happen. But when a company will take your song and not pay you at all for it, or very, 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 very little, to me that's wrong. Because an artist, not just to create the song, but all the years of hard work and dedication seem to be ignored. And I find that very egregious. That's just my personal feeling as an artist.
And you're not alone. There are a lot of people.
That's why I speak that way. I mean,
Yeah,
some people
no.
are like, dude, man, that's being a little high and mighty. I said, well,
No,
look,
it's not.
I would just as soon, and this is one of the things I do. I have SoundCloud too. I give my songs away for free. Okay? I'm working on a CD that's going to come out, and that'll be sold.
Yeah, we'll get into that
and
too.
MP3s and stuff. Yeah, we'll talk about that in a little bit. But when a musician or anyone actually puts the effort into trying to put some creative material out there and is not compensated in any way, shape, or form, and yet the people that run these Spotifys and
Pandora.
Rhapsody and all these
Pandora.
types of things, they're living high, and they're multi-millionaires, possibly billionaires, and the artist barely can make ends meet. There's inequality there, and I'm not going to support it.
Well, and then I think the thing that
Does that
touches
make
on
sense?
that too. Yeah, no,
Totally,
it makes total
totally.
That's
sense.
just
Totally.
how I feel.
On our Lost episode, when we were talking to John Letzo, he was kind of digging into that too, when he was talking about record labels and being with a record label. And I think it was something astonishing how he was saying that, like, when they sold a CD for like, $12, $15, that they got like 88 cents to the CD or something. Was that
Yeah.
something like that? But he said they got a phenomenal deal where it was like $1.25 a CD with the label that he was on.
Right.
But he was just saying that.
Well, that's why fuck all that. I mean, the whole label thing in general. I mean, there are good labels out there, but particularly the big labels. I mean, not only was it's always been a rave fest, really. I mean, they just have always done that to artists. From the beginning of recorded music. And
currently, I have 3 record companies that would like to buy 6 of my songs. Okay?
Buy outright or buy... okay. So in that case, that's the worst kind of deal because...
Well, the thing about it, I've been in communication with these companies, and they love the stuff. But they're upset because I own the copyrights, and they keep telling me, well,
Yeah,
in order
exactly.
for you to, Mr. Freshman, in order for you to really, really have us help you, we need to have the copyrights. And, of course, you never want to do that, okay? And I said, well, I'll tell you what I'll do, and I've educated myself in this way, guys. I said, I will license to you for a
Licensing
fee.
is the only way to go as a
Okay,
songwriter.
correct. Because there's different copyrights. There's mechanical copyright. There's publishing. There's
Right,
many
and-
different types.
and
There's
each
actually
song's-
7 different copyrights that apply to your work.
Correct.
So this is a subject that is really not designed for this forum per se. But, I was talking to the president of this one company. He's like, well, look, we would love to use a couple of these songs and put them into some films that we have eyeballed for you.
Great. That's
At
great.
credits. And I said, well, that's awesome. This is what I would license it for. And he's like, well, that's not what we want. We want the song. And you would have to sell us the copyright.
No, that's always a bad deal for the artist.
And I won't go that direction, guys.
No, because that's yours. You created that. I mean, that's something you put into the world.
So getting back to it, when a person, anyone, puts years of hard work, dedication, sweat, woodshedding, practicing, learning their instrument, learning how to develop the skills that allow them to do what they do, taking all those years of humiliation and struggle only to be basically kicked to the curb, that's not okay by me.
No, and I completely understand that. I mean, I think it's just one of those things where, to me, that's where I'm at with it, man. I've been doing this a while, and
Your work is brilliant.
It's all
and
mine.
we've talked about this many times, you and I.
Yeah, and I do. Thank you. And I do everything through Tony Dollar Music. It's all mine. I own everything. I'm not about to sell anything to anybody. I'll be more than happy to license stuff if you want to use it in a movie, that kind of thing. That's fine. But when you sell it like that, you sell it for a flat rate, and you go, "Holy shit! I just made $10,000. That's amazing." And then you look at the net profit that this song has yielded over the next 25 years, and you go, "Well, man, I got screwed. I got $10,000. I could have had $500,000."
I'll give you a perfect example. The gal who sang on Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon.
Was there
name
just one,
was,
or was there multiple? I seemed like there was multiple
but
female
this
vocalists.
one gal's name was Claire Torrey, I believe. Claire Torrey. And this gal sang on a song that was absolutely gorgeous. And they paid her 30 pounds. 30 pounds at that time was equivalent to about
Wasn't that coming out in the late 70s?
73.
Oh, early 70s, okay.
They paid her roughly about $90. Okay. Well, she took him to court and got an out-of-court settlement in the hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars because
Good for her.
Dark Side of the Moon was huge. Right? That's just one example, and that's a true story. So you have to really be able to protect yourself.
Well, again, on the last episode is when we discussed Louie.
For those of you who don't know, Mike's talking about episode 5.
5.
It will always be
Just
episode 5. You'll never hear it.
The last episode.
Yeah,
we'll
it's gone.
just call it.
Bye-bye.
But on that one, we were talking with John Letzo and how you kind of digging into it. The guy who wrote Louie, that song that everybody knows, Louie, that song right
we
there.
gotta go.
He sold that song for $750 to pay for his wedding.
Didn't you say there was a lawsuit with that too?
And so after a while, like in the 80s, he was living on welfare and so on and so forth. And a lawyer came up to him and said, "Hey, you get these rights back." And he was actually he sued the record companies and stuff like that, and actually got the rights back, and now he's a millionaire because he got the rights back to a song.
Rightfully so.
Yeah.
That was a great song.
But just
and it
saying,
had a huge amount of
though,
success.
it's $750. He sold that song for, and just to think, like, it's, you know.
And that's the
popularity.
difference. That's the difference Fresh is talking about. The difference between selling your song outright and licensing it. There's a huge difference there because when you sell it, it's gone. Kiss it goodbye.
That's correct. And I give guitar lessons and bass lessons. And one of the things I try to hip my students to, besides understanding how to develop their art, is to think for themselves and to protect themselves. You know, and a lot of them have such low self-esteem that they will say, oh, I could never do this. I said, you know what? All it takes is one or two chords or whatever in the right place, and it touches someone. You don't know what could happen. I mean, so the whole point is us as human beings sharing to another person to help them grow as people. And that's my goal in life.
Fucking amen. Amen.
It just got real right there. It just got real.
Okay.
right there.
Feel it though? I felt it.
You felt it.
I felt it.
I'm sitting here
Actually,
in my
I
fucking
think
chair.
that
Well,
was-
I guess I'm feeling it.
That might have been.
I feel like we're all like you're just like this sage.
Yeah.
Oh,
Just
no,
taking
man.
notes over
We're all-
here.
And we're all just sitting here.
I'm
bro,
just waiting for the fire water to
listen
be
the
passed over here.
Fresh.
Come on, Stevie, whip me again.
It's like the monk. He's like telling us all these like important facts. I'm like, fuck yes.
Did you say the monk?
The monk.
Who's the monk? Are there many monks?
Fresh.
Oh, Fresh.
Fresh is like a monk.
I just
He's
derailed
giving
it. I
us
don't know
all
what
these
that meant.
like all
Yeah.
this information. Is
Well,
like,
Fresh, you've been
I
playing.
love it.
You've been playing music a long time, and I look up to you. I go to you with questions. I mean, you're somebody I definitely admire, and I look up to what you do.
You know, one of the things back in the mid '80s, I took 2 years of. My education was in a different area than music, actually, but in 1985 and 86, no, 84 and 85, yeah, 84 and 85, I took 2 years worth of classes at a great music school in Sherman Oaks, California, called the Dick Grove School of Music. And I had a number of great teachers, but two of the teachers, one was a guy named Jeff Richmond, a brilliant guitar player, a friend of mine. The other one's another guy who I've become very good friends with and was my teacher in 85, and his name was Lee Rittenauer. So he's a very famous jazz guitar player. And these guys opened my eyes to many different things, not just how to play or how to think in a certain way, but they really hipped our class on how to protect yourself. Okay? That's where I started to hear about the first ideas of always record yourself. You never can tell what you're doing.
You know who saved me was my Uncle Roland. This is an uncle who lives in California as well, and he's got some experience in the music industry. And he hit me with that too, because you know how I've done it for years, Fresh. For years, I just slap stuff up on the internet. You know, I'll write a song. 10 minutes later, it's either recorded on video or audio, and I'm throwing it up on the internet. And he was the one who kind of stopped and said, "Hey, you know, I see what you're doing, and you're amazingly talented, but be careful because there's so much." He was telling me, what was the guy? I think I told you about this, Mike. This guy that was. He saw like a 60 Minutes documentary or something on it where the guy was playing music for a lot of years, wrote a lot of great songs, and then kind of got older, sort of stopped playing, was sort of doing his own thing, never had huge amounts of fame or anything like that. But apparently somehow his music caught on in South Africa.
Oh,
And-
I know who you're talking about exactly.
Yeah, and it just blew up, and it was this
That
huge...
guy's name is Sugarman.
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 Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah, well, but I mean, it was one of those stories where the guy didn't even know his music was huge out there. You know, people were playing it, and then when they found out, it had a great ending to the story. He found out about it, ended up going to South Africa, and people just embraced him because it was like a music of the people kind of thing. And so he ended up performing and building a giant career for himself, like in his 60s out there.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's a true story. 60 Minutes actually did an expose on him a few years ago.
I think that's where my uncle
Fantastic.
saw it at.
Oh, it's
Yeah,
great.
yeah.
Yeah. Very humble guy. You know what the guy did? He lived in Detroit, and he was like a like a house cleaner or like a painter, very, very humble man. And one day, someone told him that he was huge. He was this huge star in South Africa. Exactly
Can you
what
imagine?
said.
Can you imagine? That's like every musician's dream come true.
Yeah.
Just bobbing along in your day job, and somebody says,
This guy's fucking just
Making money in Africa.
up and down like Mr. Miyagi, painting and everything, and someone's fucking like, "You're fucking famous in South Africa, son." Like,
Yeah,
what?
the
What
wax
am I
on,
doing
wax
wax on
off.
and wax off shit? What the hell am I doing here?
"Oh man." It's just so crazy. The world's a crazy place that stuff like can happen. But yeah, I mean, it's really important to protect yourself as an artist, and that was something I neglected for a lot of years. And it wasn't until my uncle got on me that I started copywriting my songs and started really going the right path on everything, so that if I'm throwing it out there, I try not to do that unless copyrights are in place, so that that kind of thing can't happen where people are making money off your music and it's having success without you. Meanwhile, you're working in a gas station.
So
Exactly.
this is my question to you guys, because I'm
Yeah.
not a musician. I'm just a bullshitter.
You're a singer.
I hang out.
I'm a couch guy.
Yeah, and Mark's the couch guy.
singer.
You do have that
But-
down. You have that nailed,
I
buddy.
do.
But, I'm just a bullshitter. I do shit for fun. I say things for fun. I have no problem saying what I speak, but I'm ignorant as far as when it comes to the to the music industry and stuff like that. And so like when you guys are talking about like copywriting shit and everything, like does that go through like do you have like lawyers that do that for you guys, or do you do that yourself?
Do it
Is that
yourself.
something you do it yourself.
Do it with the U.S. Copyright Office. There's other ways. I mean, people talk about the poor man's. There are ways around it, but people will mail stuff. They'll put it in a sealed envelope, mail it to yourself, and that that functions to a certain level. But really, the best way to do it is go through the U.S. Copyright Office.
Yeah.
You register your song. You can, like you were talking about. There's different forms. You can
That's
copyright
the
an
Library
album.
of Congress. Library of Congress. And what we're talking about here are what are called SR, sound recordings. All sorts of different types of copyrights. But SR recordings are sound recordings, and there's different ways to do them. The scope of it's a little more involved in this form, but basically you're sending to this government agency for a nominal fee. I think it's $35. And you can have a number of songs on there, and you list out basically who does what part you created, or if you're co-writing with other people, you give credit where credit is due, and you list the title of the song, and then they have these recordings on file, and a number of months later you get a stamped copyright.
Yeah, I kind of want to go talk to the people down there because, I did Dance in the Sunshine when I copywrote that one. It came through pretty quick. I want to say it was about 4 months or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I did another song called 2045, which hardly anybody's heard. I haven't really put it out there that much, but I went and got the copyright done.
Mm-hmm.
I literally got the letter last week, and when I submitted for the copyright, this was like early 2013, and then all of a sudden I forgot all about it, and then I get this note saying, "Oh, you're copywritten now." Like maybe they need some help down there. It's a few more people or something. Jesus,
all those furloughs, all those federal furlough days.
Right, that after me.
Yeah. Exactly.
Okay,
we'll
something-
get back to you.
Something we do a lot is we kind of go through and we talk about current events and just kind of stuff going on in the world fresh. So we want to bring you in on this here.
Okay.
So we'll just go through a few headlines that we saw in the news this week. One that particularly caught my eye. Nebraska and Oklahoma sue Colorado over legal marijuana. Nebraska and Oklahoma have asked the U.S. Supreme Court to nullify a 2012 law that made marijuana legal in the U.S. state of Colorado. What the fuck, Nebraska and
this
Oklahoma?
is just
what are you doing?
This right here
Jealous.
is a classic case of hate.
Exactly.
That's what it's called.
You know why, right?
They're
No.
drinking the fierce haterade over.
Something.
They're losing their people in Nebraska and everybody else, and they're all moving into Colorado.
Well,
just to
they're
get
saying-
high and all this, and we're making
They're
all
saying it's
this
coming
money.
over.
Yeah,
They're saying
exactly.
they're saying what it is they're buying it here in Colorado legally, and then
Right.
taking it over to the border.
Which is why they're not suing Washington. They said, well, Washington, we don't really care about them. We don't have adjacent borders. We don't really care. That was the most bizarre thing I had heard, where Colorado's legalized marijuana, and you've got two adjacent states saying, no, they can't do that in their state because it's affecting us.
ridiculous.
Well, you know what it sounds like? It
Please.
sounds like number one, they're hating on the marijuana law here. I mean, they can pass it if they want to, too. They can propose it and put it to vote. You know, that's a possibility. Or here's another way. If they want to try to capitalize and make money off of it, why don't you just have your fucking state troopers at the border?
Yeah, which is crazy, though. Why wouldn't you just legalize it? If you don't like it, don't mess with it. It's the same with alcohol. If you don't like it, don't mess with it. Already, this is what the article... Already, Colorado has generated $34 million in taxes from marijuana sales. That's improving our state.
That's very
and
smart.
It's funny, too?
Yeah.
A lot of that goes to the education.
Beautiful.
You know, and as you're going through...
That's great, man.
And as you're going through school, it's always talking about drugs are bad. Drugs are bad. Well... $34 million is good.
Then, well, see, and that's
Right?
another thing, too, is that we've got these stigmas and we've got these sort of like loaded words, you know, drugs. What is a drug? Coffee's a drug. Alcohol's a drug.
Caffeine.
Right.
Cocaine's a drug.
Caffeine's
Heroin's a
a
drug.
drug.
Tylenol, that gives
Sure,
you a
marijuana's a
fucking
drug.
headache out of the
Aspirin's a
way.
drug. What is a drug? It's something you ingest in your body and kind of alters your state, right?
Right.
So it's like drugs, and we always hear that in the war on drugs and all this kind of stuff. It's bullshit. It's frankly bullshit. I just thought it was interesting. I thought it was really funny. Nebraska and Oklahoma.
I think the marijuana situation, I think the biggest lobbyist, who do you think the biggest lobbyist is against
Tobacco.
marijuana?
Tobacco.
Against, you said?
Against having
I would
marijuana.
guess tobacco, but I don't know.
It's tobacco and the alcohol industry.
yeah.
Oh,
Say
of
Alcohol's
course.
yeah.
number
Right.
one.
Those.
Yeah, they're
Right.
Right, because it
like
cuts
crazy.
in on their piece of the pie. Right? Cuts in on their piece of the pie. People have been smoking pot for millennia.
Yeah, well, the
Years.
only reason that marijuana was even made illegal in the first place was, I can't remember the dude's name. I'll Google it here. But it was the guy who had started. He had like paper mills everywhere, and he gave two shits about like the effects of marijuana as a drug or whatever. His concern was that hemp was a much better and much more efficient way to do paper because you can grow it and cut it down and it grows back, you know, way faster than regular trees. And his whole concern was, I've already got these mills set up, I've got all this money invested. So he put a little bit of money into a campaign against it as opposed to, you know, putting money into just redoing everything. And that's actually when they started calling it marijuana for the first time, because people hadn't heard the word before, and so it became this thing. And the whole campaign was centered around colored guys, black guys, and Mexicans. They're going to steal all the white women. They smoke this marijuana, and they take the white women and they have sex with your women. Do you want that to happen?
Reefer madness, baby.
Right, exactly. And so you look at the whole thing and you go, this is fucking ridiculous. Like, it's 2014. Can we ditch these old ideas that are completely centered around a few people that want to make a lot of money? So much in our world is jacked up because of that, I think.
Capitalism.
Yeah. Well, and capitalism in and of itself isn't necessarily a bad thing. But
It's
Jefferson...
just people that take advantage of that.
Correct.
Yeah, and they take it to an extreme. I mean, capitalism is, first of all, it's a necessity for any society to be able to raise income, set up taxes in order to pay for the infrastructure of the society. Okay? And you have different levels of economics. You have the large picture, macroeconomics, and the micro industry and the microeconomics. The point is that we need income and taxes to do stuff. Pot has always been a way that could have generated lots of money. It would have gotten many of the states and the country out of this dilemma we're in, or at least softened it, mitigated it.
Not eliminated it, but definitely softened the blow.
Definitely softened it.
Definitely.
Yeah. You know, I mean, that, the fact that our state is now set up legalization of marijuana and taxes it, plus you also have the Colorado lottery. If you think about how just these two things benefit our parks, education, could be benefiting homeless society situations, indigent situations, it's just a very smart solution down the road.
Yeah, but well, just like what Tony was talking about, like, I believe it was his last episode, how it decreased the amount of DUI.
Yeah, DUIs have gone down.
And
They've shown that now.
Being in a situation of DUI myself, it was like listening to everybody talk about how many people died and all that stuff due to DUI and all that stuff. Can you imagine how much more people we could be saving lives for
There's
on a day-to-day basis.
There's no question that alcohol is tremendously more dangerous than marijuana is. As we sit here sipping on beers and whiskey.
Well,
Right.
look, everything to moderation. I mean, it's all
Self-control.
fine as long as you keep it in check. I mean, if you smoke too much weed, what happens? You fall
you don't do
asleep.
Fall
shit.
asleep.
You don't do anything. yeah.
You ain't driving anywhere.
Or talking
Yeah.
about the couch.
Right. Let's think about it this way: smoke pot, go to sleep, or DUI and go take a drive. That's a horrible combination for that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I'm not a big supporter of people driving high on weed, but I would much rather have people driving on marijuana than driving on alcohol. I mean, studies will show. I'm not endorsing that by any means, but I just think that it's just silliness. It's just silly what's legal and what's illegal and why. And when you really start to dig into the why on these things, you really see this. It has nothing to do with what these campaigns are about. It has nothing to do with what they say it's about. It has to do with money. It has to do with certain people making money, doing it the same old way they've been doing it for a long time, and they are absolutely set in their ways and don't want to
And
change
then
it.
somebody comes wrong and fucks up the formula, and then that's
Because,
Exactly.
because it's not into their favor.
Yep.
That's it.
yeah.
Yep, that's it.
Yeah.
Another thing I wanted to touch on, as far as the current events, is this whole fucking Sony Pictures thing with the
Right.
interview and how celebrities are saying that we're conceding to terrorism.
Yeah, and like I was telling you before the show, I haven't read a lot on this, but that's definitely a curious idea. It's that whole idea of like, well, we think that this was, North Korea.
So you familiar with this?
No,
Fresh?
not
So
really.
Yeah.
What
No.
happened
Fill us in,
is
Mike.
this movie is called The Interview. It's with Seth Rogen and James Franco. And it's basically about these guys going to North Korea and interviewing, quote-unquote, Kim Jong-un.
Yeah, the leader.
Kim Jong-un, and then they assassinate him. And so
Didn't go over well in North Korea.
And so it's not going
The
well in North
idea.
Korea. And so there's been hackers that has gone into Sony and saying, if you guys release this movie, we're going to do all this terrorist shit, so on and so forth.
Wow.
And it's gotten really crazy to the point where they were going to have a Christmas release. Now they're saying no Christmas release. And so they don't even know right now at this point in time if they're going to release the movie. And then all these celebrities are just coming out and everything like that, and they're just saying, the freedom of, speech and so on and so forth, and saying that we're conceding to terrorism and that this is just an art form, and if people are really taking this stuff seriously, it's bullshit.
Yeah, it's hard to not take North Korea seriously, quite frankly. So I don't know. That's why I was kind of curious how you guys might feel about that. Do you know anything about this, Mark? Or tell me. I hope to God you're looking this up on your phone right now.
I am actually.
Okay,
It-
I'm
Jesus.
so proud of you right now.
And Jesus,
funny you
like the
say
way you
that.
think about it too, if anybody's seen fucking Trey Parker and Matt Stone with Team America World Police, they
That
make
shit
fun of
was-
fucking North Korea like crazy,
Yeah.
and nothing happened with that.
Even with AIDS. and
Well, that
stuff.
raises the question. I mean, I hate to be a conspiracy theory, but I definitely am skeptical of everything. How sure are we that it's North Korean hackers that are doing this? Because I know for a while they didn't really know.
Actually, they just said about it.
Who's they though?
Obama said made a mistake. They're saying that Obama's statement came hours after the FBI announced that North Korea is officially responsible for the cyber attack on Sony attack.
I know, but to say it's officially responsible, like, where's that coming from? I mean, I'm not saying it's not true by any means. It probably is. I don't know, but Mike brings up a really good point. How come they never fucked with South Park? Yeah. They're doing the same thing, so.
I don't know
good
what the
point.
hell's going on over there.
Yeah, who knows?
But regarding that situation,
What do you-
we were talking briefly about that when you first caught up with it. Remember when I was telling you how I played Call of Duty. I don't know if anybody was aware about that, but prior to anything that happened on the media, we have this thing on Call of Duty. It's called Clan Wars. Basically, it's just like one clan to another. We go against different clans online and say, hey, who beats the best clan, whatever.
Clam?
Clan.
Clans.
It's
this is
like
a
a
video
clan.
game
Oh,
talk.
clan.
We
Okay,
don't know. We
yeah.
don't know what they're talking about.
But besides the fact, basically what it is just like they told us. They specifically said on Sony and said, hey, you know what? This is going to happen to you throughout the whole month. And me and my friends are reading and like, what the hell are you talking about throughout the whole month? It's like, yeah, we're going to fuck up your clan war and Sony's network just to mess with you guys. I'm like, all right. whatever. And all of a sudden, one of my buddies says, "Hey, wait for the media." I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? Wait for the media. I'm assuming because of after all this stuff happening, the media is
right. You didn't actually put 2 and 2 together until I told you about the Sony thing, right?
Exactly, I didn't.
Yeah.
It actually clicked into mind.
That's mind-boggling.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm kind of curious what your take. Do you have a take on it? Like, do you think it's sort of a pansy move to?
I think so. That's what I think. It's just we're conceding to the terrorism, in my own opinion.
Giving them what they want.
Yeah, give them what they want. Like buying into the fears of it. And I think that maybe the thing that's playing in everybody's mind and so on and so forth is still, it's 9/11. And the attacks and terrorism and stuff like that, and before how we didn't take things seriously, and
which is so crazy when you think about it, because we're talking about 2001.
Yeah.
Boy, I'm not a patriot, am I?
Yeah, that's 2001.
2001.
Yeah, 2001.
Yeah.
It's 2014. We're talking 13 years later. Have we had any major incidents since then? Okay. Well, I think people are probably doing their jobs.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it. I have to read more about it. I'm not
I just
that
feel
educated on it.
it's just conceding, and like I said, it's that freedom that we have here to be able to voice our opinions and so on and so forth, even if it's through media, if it's through another country or something like that. It's just like, it's fucking funny. Just back off.
We talked about this in episode 2 or 3 or something, where like that's how I feel about it, particularly with comedy. And we're kind of sometimes we're pretty funny here.
Yeah.
Sometimes we're not. But
mostly me.
Well, Mike, consider the concept
but
of that
I
movie.
think when you're talking comedy, it's no holds barred, and we've said this before. It's just sort of like, relax. People say stuff because they're just making people laugh, and it doesn't necessarily have to be. Well, you're making a statement about, because I'm really into comedy, and I listen to a lot of comedians. I'm a big fan of Joe Rogan and his podcast and stuff. And you listen to these guys' writing process. They're not writing because they're trying to make political statements. They're trying to get gut belly laughs from people, and that's really what it's about. And if it hits you as funny, and it doesn't hit, if somebody finds something offensive or not funny, tune out, man. That's your freedom. That's your freedom. You don't have to do that.
Well, there's no freedom in North Korea, so.
Yeah,
just so everybody knows.
Right. No, I think everybody's pretty aware of that.
Think about it. All the comedy movies have all been taken. All the ideas has already been taken. You know what I mean? Imagine this. So this is brand new. You'll never talk about, it's rare to see anybody talk about some other country and say, "Hey, I'm going to kill your leader." You're never going to hear that ever.
Well, just to play into it, let's just go in a little bit similar situations. What's his name? Sacha Cohen Baron. The guy that does Ali G and Borat and everything like that.
Right, the one with
He did The Dictator.
Right.
Poking fun at
Nobody said shit about that.
And that's the thing too with this is a little different, but the people who have done, there was a guy who not too long ago, I think it was in Sweden or somewhere, Norway, somewhere up there, where somebody had done a political cartoon, and they had depicted Muhammad in what they thought was a funny way, and a lot of people obviously perceived it as, offensive,
sacrilegious.
Yeah, but it was amazing. The dude right now is in hiding, for his life, because he doesn't want, because of a drawing. The guy drew a picture and made a joke, and now he's fearful that he might die. And he's not the first. Many people have died for making fun of Muhammad. Yeah. And it's one of those things where you just go, "What's wrong with us? What's wrong with us? We can't just relax a little bit. It's freedom of speech. Let people talk. I don't know."
See, we have very different mindsets here in the West compared to other parts of the world, and sadly, this is something that has been going on since
forever.
It goes back as far as Cain and Abel.
Yeah.
It's going way back.
Yeah, right. Well, that's where it started, right? It's where someone says something, the other person gets their emotions hurt, their feelings hurt, they misconstrue, they make assumptions, and they don't check it out, and then they act upon it. So really, this is where it's not an easy situation to discuss, but you have to sort of weigh the options and see, is this something that could be inflammatory to some other person? That's why in the days where you didn't have the internet, you could say things and not worry about
the key.
it, right?
Yeah. That's the key.
Here today, you get to a point when I was growing up, you'd say to a girl who looked pretty in school, "Gosh, Melissa, you look really sweet, real nice looking."
they're
Stop
slapping
sexually
handcuffs.
harassing me, Fresh. Stop
Exactly,
sexually harassing
exactly.
me.
You're looking at my hair too much.
Yes. Slap the handcuffs off,
so
haul you off to jail.
everything, has changed. It's gotten too. The pendulum has swung too far.
Remember when Daylina was on the show and she was talking about somebody was getting bent out of shape because Winnie the Pooh doesn't wear pants?
Yeah.
Oh my
Shit
goodness!
me. Yeah.
God save you.
It's a fucking bear.
Right?
A fucking cartoon bear.
Cartoon
And his
bear.
fucking name is
Cartoon
Winnie the
bear.
Pooh.
Yeah.
Winnie the
Pooh.
Pooh.
Well, so you know what it is too, like these countries, North Korea. So like you were saying, East versus West. When you think about it, in reality, like our country, the United States of America, is a baby compared to
Very true, yeah.
most civilizations and stuff like that. And so I think what it is just here in the United States of America, we're just more modernized, more open. It's the land of the free, the home of the brave, so on and so forth. It's just like these other countries are just set in their ancient fucking ways. And it's not to say that's not bad. It's not bad. It's just that, it's just maybe behind. And maybe
I think that's fine, and I think they're entitled to whatever they want to believe. But where you get into trouble is when people can't open their mouth and say whatever they feel. And I feel that way about everybody. No matter how strongly I disagree with what you're saying, I strongly 100% support your right to say it.
There's a very famous statement by a cat that is in a program that's very close to me, and the statement is contempt prior to investigation.
Yeah, I was going to say something earlier. You kind of hit it on the head without looking into it, you said.
Correct. Now, this ties in also with open-mindedness and willingness and acceptance. Those three things.
And I think a big thing that ties in is intent, too.
Intent, right. If someone writes something off the top of their head or shares a comment or whatever, you have to look at what is the intention. Is it mean-spirited? Is it malicious? Is it just to get a laugh? Is it to open a dialogue? These types of things. And when you shut that two-way or three-way or multiple-way dialogue down, you're sending a very disturbing message that will put us back to the beginning of time, that will destroy the human race. That's my belief.
The history repeating itself.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm. Right.
That's that contempt prior to investigation. I hate this, even though I have no idea what it's about.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And I think, I almost feel like we kind of sustain the system. Even those of us here in the West, everywhere, we just kind of sustain it. Because I'll tell you one thing I'm fucking tired of is hearing apologies. Oh. People, I apologize for the things that I said that I didn't know anybody heard, but somebody had a recorder, so now I'm apologizing publicly, and that was wrong. That's sustaining that whole system of censorship and what's okay and what's not okay. And I mean, yeah.
That's actually what my wife actually gets really mad about, is when I don't apologize. Because she's always like, you don't apologize for anything. And I you know me, I'm pretty truthful, because I'll tell her, well, because I'm not sorry about that. I'll tell you.
Sorry, it feels real. If I
tell her I'm sorry, it's a genuine I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But if it's just like I'm trying to make you fucking feel better.
Yeah. Right, and that's what these things are, and it's that, and it's, I mean, I guess it's clearing up your quote unquote public image or whatever.
Sorry, babe. By the way,
yeah.
Sorry,
we'll edit that out.
Sorry, I'm
Yeah,
a
way to
stupid
go,
fucking
Mike.
idiot.
So-
I'm just.
Way to put
I
your
was
wife
born,
into this.
roll me in some panko grease and just cook me. Okay, moving on.
Moving on. Jeb Bush, brother of former U.S. President George W. Bush, has announced he is looking into running for president in 2016.
Again?
Jesus.
Does this country
Gosh.
need another Bush? And I try not to go there. I try not to go down the whole, conservative, liberal, Republican, Democrat bullshit, and I've had a rant on that before, where I just feel like we're all individual people and we have opinions that range all over the place on depending on what the issue is. We're all individual, and so my whole thing that I kind of went off on was, can't we just come together and just talk about shit? You have points, I have points. We're different. We're all different, but at the same time, dude, another Bush as president, I feel like it's gonna be more of the same.
And so,
crap.
what really has hit me in the past here recently is, to me, when Obama came out with one of his speeches when he was talking about the debt ceiling and trying to raise that, and he was saying, you guys asked for a government for the people, not against the people, because it's one party versus another party, and now there's another party within another party that's too extreme. You have the Republicans, then you have the Tea Party that's against the Republicans, and they're too extreme, and so on and so forth.
Yeah,
and it's they said they asked for not a house to fight it, but a house together.
Yeah, we've lost sight of all of that. I mean, representative of the people, where did that go? And the whole idea too of two-party system. It's like, really, how different are the Republicans and Democrats? I mean, there are certainly issues that they're different on. Yeah. But when you look at the spectrum of possibility and you look at the spectrum of where Americans stand, and we're talking, how many people live in the United States? 40?
No, it's at this point around 340 to 350 million.
Holy Jesus, and we're still growing.
So how many opinions do you think are out there? Do you think every single one of those fucking people are Republicans or Democrats?
No. I tell you what, though.
They subscribe completely to one.
Everybody's falling off the face of the earth when it comes to being Republican or a Democrat, because they're not getting what they want.
Yeah. I think it's a flawed system to begin with.
Well, in all these protests that are happening, everyone's going the independent way, I do what I want.
Yeah.
Well, again, when you look at it, regardless of what the party is, my belief is the real problem is we have a Congress that does not serve the people. There are people that are hurting so bad, and we have a Congress, regardless of if they're Republican or Democrat, that have their own self-serving constituencies that they support so they can get reelected, keep the money going, keep that life, the lobbyists and stuff. So in the bottom line, the regular average American and our children are the one that suffers. Okay? It's not changed. It's not going to change in any of our lifetimes, I don't believe. Sadly.
You think so?
I don't think so.
I don't know. I think it. I
don't think it will.
Me personally, I think that there is going to be a breaking point. There's going to be a breaking point, and something's going to happen.
Yeah.
Shit's going to go down, and it's just going to be another revolution that goes through.
I see that too. I actually see that our biggest. This is just my personal belief, and again, that's all it is. But my personal belief is there will be a civil war in this country, and it'll be based on class. It will be based on the haves versus the have-nots. And that's the powder keg.
You think maybe we saw some of the beginning of that with the whole 99?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. With this Ferguson thing, with the riots that happened in the 60s and the 50s.
I'm sorry, that shit makes me nauseous. I can't believe all the stuff that we're seeing now in 2014. And you look back on I just don't. I don't know. I don't understand why we haven't come further with that kind of stuff. Or I guess maybe I was deluded and I thought we had come further. And now, with my whole, I feel like it was a dumbass statement. Now, is this a trend we're seeing? Are we seeing more of this violence against minorities from? And it's like, no, it's really just a dumb question. This has been happening, but then you look at it and you go, well, why isn't this getting better? Why are we still seeing this kind of crap? And maybe it is surging again. Maybe we're seeing some more of this, but it's because people have cameras now and they're capturing, and then suddenly it puts the whole thing into question of how much progress have we made?
Nothing.
None.
You know what's crazy?
We've made progress.
We've made progress, but we keep getting set back from that progress. All it takes is a soundbite that has been put out of context, or a film that has been edited and put on to a viral video, and it becomes an inflammatory statement. Okay?
Right.
So
Right.
people, they see this thing, and instead of them actually seeing what happened, and I'm not talking about the issue. That's not.
You
to
mean the
discuss
Ferguson
here.
thing in particular? Okay.
But the point is that the media places us in such a demeanor that they control our emotions by the way they present stuff.
Oh, without a doubt.
That's my point.
Without
and
a
so
doubt.
when our kids are watching something, a young child is watching something, they're seeing this and they're hearing this, and they see a picture of a Hispanic or an African American or whatever it is, a white Caucasian or whatever it is, and they hear this, they don't know what's truth or fiction, but they see this thing on the TV and they think, well, this must be real.
Right.
This must be true.
I question everything, man.
Yes, you're right. And that's what, getting back to the very core of why we have America, that's what our founding fathers did. They questioned Britain. We wouldn't be sitting here, guys, otherwise.
Yep.
Well, and again,
That might be beyond the scope of what we're talking about, but that's the
it's
truth.
not. It's not.
Well, again, how we were saying earlier, we're a baby of a country. And so other countries, other societies, other civilizations have gone through multiple revolutions, multiple wars and stuff like that, against each other. And so, it's just, is it time for us to do another revolution? Who knows? But I'm a big social media person. Tony knows that.
Yep.
But, one of the hashtags today was
What's a hashtag?
20
What does that mean?
It's Twitter. It's a Twitter thing.
Okay. I didn't know what that meant.
Yeah.
Yeah,
sorry.
we took a look at your Twitter,
Yeah.
buddy. We saw you hadn't posted since
Yeah.
2011.
I don't even touch that. I have no clue.
But-
I'm with you. I try
But,
my
it's
best.
It's like it was
I have
just
no
up there
clue.
just to have it up there.
I'm usually just trying
so
to
what it
figure out
is-
how to play a guitar chord.
But one of the trending things today was 2014 in 5 words. So you had to describe the year 2014 in 5 words.
Wow.
And so mine that I tweeted out was, phones were on, we filmed it. We filmed.
Oh, that's solid.
Phones were on, we filmed.
That's solid.
Wow.
Well, buddy, that's what everything's.
I'm gonna
doing
find that shit
surround
and
us.
retweet it.
Everything's just through media, though.
Yeah.
Honestly, we never, like Tony said, we never had cameras back in the day. And funny you guys say that. As soon as I literally watched one video of a cop beating another person for no reason, right?
And then there's
And
related.
then, exactly, there's multiple related videos to this.
That's sad.
And it sucks because I don't want to see all this.
Right.
Because first and foremost, I personally think that, at one point in time in my life, I wanted to become a cop. But now it's just I'm looking towards, it's like, fuck, is this what they do? Is this what I'm going to end up doing? It's like, do I really want to be this? But at the same time, it's like,
Well, at the same time, when you're thinking about the media, it's like, no, we're in the new millennia. It's media's here, social media is here, so on and so forth. I think me and you had talked, Tony, before, and we had said there has been the same number of deaths, murders, suicides, so on and so forth since the medieval times. Mm-hmm. It's just that we know about it a little bit more because of technology.
So we're so connected.
And so we're so connected. So at that point in time, is ignorance bliss?
No.
No, but this is an
With
extreme
media.
that this is my personal thought on this too. With all this advent of incredible technology we have today, there are things that are being lost that sadly are the fabric of our lives. When you have people who are more focused on their phones and texting instead of having a straight-on, honest communication and dialogue with their children, their family, their wives, people, you are losing something that cannot be replaced.
The
It
human
is the
connection.
most dangerous thing
That's
in
it.
the world that's happening as I see it, because we are now in a place where we are being overloaded with information. Instead of, and what this does is, one, it does not allow our brains to grow and function by thinking and talking and using our words and dialogue and interacting, communicating. This is one of the most deadly things that can happen to the human race as I see it. That's why I don't tweet. That's why when I'm on Facebook, I'm only on it for a minute or two or a little bit. I have an old phone. I don't have a smartphone because there is a
The buttons,
reason.
There's buttons on
This
that
is
motherfucker.
exactly why
Tip.
one of the things that will happen, I believe, to these kids, if they don't pass this technology to the side and start learning to think, is their minds will become stayed and they will not grow mentally.
It could be, you know. And
That's just my fear. That's my thinking.
I can see some of that. I think it kind of takes me back to what you were saying about substances and things in general with moderation.
Yeah.
Because I feel like it's inevitable. I feel like the proliferation of technology and how it's becoming a very huge part of our life, I sort of feel like that's inevitable, but it has to do with how are we using it. How, are we getting away from human connection? Because we don't necessarily have to. I mean, but it has to do with that, because I see what you're saying. Like my son, there has to be limits.
Yeah.
Because he'll sit there and watch YouTube videos or play video games. If I just let him go, I could see him not sleeping for 3 days.
Right, exactly.
You know?
He's on that
Exactly.
wrestling. Like,
Now, here's the other thing. Here's the
right?
real life situation. If our children and their children don't develop these critical human
Like what's an example?
emotions,
Like what's an example?
I'll give you a perfect example. If you do not have the skills to actually do math and to communicate with human beings, how successful are you actually going to be in a job where you need to do these skills? How successful, even more importantly, are you going to be in developing a healthy, human, mature, intimate adult relationship?
Do you almost feel sometimes like
You see what I'm saying?
like it's just a matter of us, of the human race, just sort of not being ready for this shit? Like we're still stuck in such primitive patterns, and then we've got this amazing technology. Because when you really stop and think about the potential of technology and the potential of the connection that we have to the entire globe now, you think this could be utopian. I mean, there's so many things we could capitalize on to bring wonderful happiness and connection to the world, and instead, so often we don't see those things. Do you think maybe that we're just in a phase where our technology is moving way faster than like our I don't even know.
I don't know.
I'm
I
gonna-
think our imagination is surpassed our technology. I mean, it's scary to think that our imagination from back when has made these technologies happen, but imagination goes a long way, and sometime in the future, things will happen. And
So do you think like technology and stuff kind of is the sort of the opposite of imagination sort of stuff?
I think
or?
it's the opposite, because
Okay.
our minds are so open and like expanded to just endless possibilities, the way that we think and so on and so forth. Actually, one of my Facebook posts, I had like a nightmare that fucking Bill Gates ran for president, and Bill Gates
fucking
started.
Gates.
You say, yeah.
Xbox came.
Bill Gates started Skynet,
What the fuck?
and now
Skynet
fucking
exists?
Terminator.
and now
the-
Terminator exists, and now
right.
we're all fucked. Great.
Hey, you know what though? It's
And
funny
so
you say
now
that.
I fear that Bill Gates is going to run for president, and now I'm going to have a fucking
Would you rather
Terminator.
have Bill Gates or would you have Jeb Bush?
Bill Gates.
Bill
I'm
Gates.
thinking of working on a song. I will share this idea with you. This is something I've been thinking about for a while, and it's going to be called something along this, the love letter. And the difference in getting a beautiful letter from your loved one versus getting a text. And the dichotomy, the distance between the two, this is where this song is going to go. Give you a little idea of what my brain's thinking about.
It's beautiful.
That's good.
man.
No, that's good, because
Isn't that cool?
That's way cool,
Well,
man.
because I do
Sure.
feel that, because like my wife will text me something like, "I love you today for this reason,"
Sure, why not?
Your wife's so
But-
sweet.
but
She tells you that.
if she like wrote me a letter, I feel more of a connection with that, like a personal letter. If she was just like to write a note, like, and she's left like a note on the table or something like that, saying, "Hope you have a great day. I love you," so on and so forth. And you're just like, oh man, that human connection.
That's right.
You know what though? I mean, I could honestly say, being at my age or whatnot, I'm starting to realize a lot of changes in everybody's lives. You know what I mean? I could tell you in this generation of life, a lot of the younger generation just relies on everything that's electronic. I mean, when it comes to imagining things and all that stuff, I agree with you, Mike. I mean, with all the things that are happening, I think everybody's expanding their minds a lot more because they're trying to create something small from to a computer.
Yeah.
And then they're using their brain a lot harder to see, hey, how can I fix and making this work even better? You know what I mean? It's
and I agree. And I mean,
hard.
I think there are definite benefits, and that's why I kind of feel like maybe we're just not ready for it because, like, the access of knowledge now. I mean, you can call a bullshitter out in 3 seconds with Google these days. I mean, and I mean, there are definitely advantages, but that's interesting, kind of to hear all your guys' take on that. It's
But the letter thing, though, god damn, yeah, you don't see the letter. When
thank
you do, it's amazing.
See, when I write a song, I look at my goal is this: I want to connect to a human being. Okay, now there's different ways in different subjects that can do this. If I'm writing a song and I want to excite someone or I want to touch their emotions, I want to hit upon something that's going to make them say, wow, I can relate to this. For instance, when you get a letter and you've been to summer camp for 5 weeks or whatever from your mom, isn't that beautiful?
absolutely.
Now, would that have the same potency and emotional connection as a text? I don't think so. That's where I started to get this idea about this song. And I'm writing down these ideas. This is just a new idea I'm coming up with. And I'm thinking, this is going to be a good one. And the way I'm going to place it with a country rock feel, like the Eagles, to make it even more
Damn, that sounds terrible.
more of a
Hell
populist.
freezes over style.
You see what I'm saying? That's the way my brain is thinking.
Yeah. No, and I think there's something to that.
Does that make sense?
It does make sense. It makes perfect sense. That's why I keep coming back to the whole, are we just ready for it? Because me personally, I don't think technology is inherently bad in and of itself. I think it has more to do with how we approach it and what we do with it and how we use it. You know what I mean?
Fucking Skynet. They'll make Terminators.
Fucking Bill Gates. Take your glasses off for a second and hopefully you don't fucking think of anything else.
Yeah, no doubt. I think we're down to just the last couple of minutes here. This has been a great fucking time, man. We are going to have David Freshman play us a few songs, so we're going to actually kind of shut things down, and we're going to slap some videos up on YouTube of these. Are you okay with that?
Oh,
we put it
yeah.
out in the public domain there?
Even though you haven't showed
kind.
it to the
Thank you,
public
guys.
yet, I feel bad. It's like, fuck it, we're going to get this
This
out
is
right
exclusive content to According to Mike and Tony.
Yes.
There you go. Let's market it
But-
that way.
Anyway, one thing I did want to get out there, as I've talked to you about Fresh, I've told you, Mike, I've got an EP that's going to be coming out this next year. I'm knuckling down. I've booked some studio time. I'm going to the Spot Studios in Inglewood in January. I'm going to do my first single, which is going to be Dancing in the Sunshine. And then
Nice.
about one a month, I'm going to record and release a song digitally every month until summertime. And then when summer gets here, I'm going to slap it all into a physical EP, put that up for sale, all the while playing lots of gigs and getting out there and doing my thing. Fresh, where can people find you and your music and your performances?
Well, on Facebook, I'm under David Freshman. Okay, and many times on my Facebook page, I post my SoundCloud, which has many of my songs.
Do you
all
know your
originals.
SoundCloud page by off the top of your head?
Yeah,
If not,
we can post that
it.
too,
We'll
yeah.
post a
Yeah,
link to
yeah.
it.
I don't know it off the top of my head.
No problem.
And on the SoundCloud, I have a number of originals. I also have songs that the bands that I've worked with have performed. So, one of them I had, but I took it off because I wanted to get your okay, was some of the stuff we've done in Pilot Theory.
Oh, you got me okay on everything, buddy.
Yeah, so, these are things to share. My belief is that the music that I write is for you. And so many of the songs are free to download so that people can share them and turn other people onto them. So
See, and
SoundCloud is one.
That's a technology thing, right? That's something we didn't have without
Well,
the...
see, that's an important thing. Yeah, there are some very wonderful things with technology. Great
moderation,
things.
abuse, all those things come
Yeah.
back into play.
So that's one thing. I also have Reverb Nation, and I have there's a Reverb Nation set up for Pilot Theory. There's a Reverb Nation set up for Tough Grooves. There's a Reverb Nation.
Well, don't name all the
setup
bands
for-
real quick. We got to wrap this up. But name all your bands real quick. You've got
Okay, there's Tough Grooves, there's Luxa, Luxa, and there's Pilot Theory
Pilot
that
Theory
we worked in.
back in the day.
I've worked with many groups, the Pharaohs, a lot of different.
David Freshman, it has been an absolute pleasure, man. You will definitely be coming back again. You're a solid friend. You're like a brother to me. You taught me a lot, and thank you so much for coming on the show and doing this with us.
Like seriously, the amount of experience and just like what you have to bring, it's just you guys will
We're
hear
honored.
it.
Yeah,
you guys will hear it in his songs that we'll post here.
Yep.
In a little bit. But
We'll get you all
his
hooked up to the
guitar
studio
is,
and get you rolling here.
Can we nickname him the Monk?
The Monk.
It's up to him.
Well,
If he likes that.
Like the
people have one name for me, and it's just Fresh.
Fresh?
Yes,
How
sir.
about,
Good.
how about Fresh to Death Monk?
Um,
Holy shit.
How about no
back
more
to you on
ideas,
that.
Mark? Okay, well, thanks so much for being part of this. We are going to be on, this is the last show of the year, so we'll be back
Just remember, Bob Spring Cadillac, where the freeways meet in Downey.
I have no idea what you're talking
All
about.
right, Fresh to Death, relax.
We're going to be back early January. The next episode is going to be with Mike Patty from the Pure Reggae Music. It's going to be a good time.
Boom, boom.
Mark, thanks for coming on the podcast.
Thanks for another invite. Appreciate it. I know. Go from the couch to the chair. It's a pleasure.
It's an
You have
honor.
to sit in a real chair to sit at the grown-up table.
Right.
Congratulations. Congratulations. You're back on the couch next week.
But again, from our families to your families, you guys, happy holidays for sure.
Happy holidays,
Yeah.
guys. A lot. Open up your gifts.
Open up the gifts. And you know what? Our gift is this podcast right here.
Cheers, fellas.
Wrap.
That's
That's a wrap,
correct.
fellas.
That's a wrap.
Cheers.